You're muted, Andy.
Sorry, I'm done with my pointer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we've waited long enough. Let's just get started. Hey, everyone. Um, okay, there we go. I think I'm here for real now. Cool. Hey, everyone. This is the second JSR Open Working Group meeting. It's November 8th, and I have a couple of things for us to chat through today, but really I want to leave most of this meeting to chat through roadmap and the issue tracker. So yeah, the first thing I want to talk through is this new governance doc that I just put up yesterday. Let me share my screen. And let me share a link to it. So for those of you who were here last week, you already know about the governance board and the moderation group. We're still working on both of those. So we've gotten multiple submissions for people that want to join the governance board. And I'm hoping that we can convene the first meeting of that for that next week. So hopefully by the next open working group meeting, yeah, I'll be able to present the governance board to you all. So the things that, yeah, I just wanted to talk about and get feedback from everyone was the goals of the governance board, and then also the goals of the moderation group. And then ideas that any of you have for specific points here. For example, ideas on how the governance board should be elected in the future. And yeah, same for the moderation group. So let me just go walk through these things real quick. The governance board is responsible for overseeing the project and ensuring that it remains true to its mission. The governance board is not yet formed, but it'll consist of community members from various organizations related to the JavaScript ecosystem. The governance board will be responsible for overseeing JSR's move to foundation, setting the general direction of the project, making decisions on behalf of the project when necessary, and determining how the governance board elects itself in the future, establishing the moderation group, determining how it is formed and how it will be formed in the future, and determining how we review open source contributions to the project and how to add new reviewers. Does anyone have thoughts on any of this? Or do you have other things that you think the governance board should work on? Let's see. Everyone's very engaged today. So does anyone have familiarity with how governance boards are elected in other communities, like for example in Node, the technical steering committee?
Hello. I have some familiarity with this.
Tell us more.
Well, so one of the sorry, I've lost my train of thought already. So the way the TSC works in Node is that people can sort of I mean, so what you've outlined here is very like similar. And people can sort of join and leave very, I won't say casually, but it's not like there are it's based on people's interest and engagement, which I think is a reasonable way to do it. And then in terms of functionally, like becoming a TSC member, it's based on what's the word? Nomination and then voting, which I think is pretty standard. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that seems roughly reasonable to me. Are there limits in the TSC for how many members from the same organization, for example, can join?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
I don't,
something we should probably investigate.
yeah, I think that's good to look into. At the same time, I have not seen this be a problem. So I know that there have been members from multiple members from the same organization in the past. But due to the facts, due to the voting process, like even if some certain large tech company wanted to stack the board, like the other people would just vote no, and then those people would not be on the board. So yeah.
Okay. And how does the decision making work in the TSC?
um they do consensus. I can also pull up the documentation for this. But um yeah, there's some good stuff here in the documentation. Um I mean, there are some particularities about the TSC and how it approaches issues due to the fact that it is in charge of many things across Node, like not just Node, the like core repo. It also has like the release process and CI, and like, so there's sort of like a tiered way that decisions are handled that tries to sort of keep TSC out of things, honestly, until they're really needed, which I don't think we would need something similar in JSC because it's just one thing. So that's also something to take into consideration.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably useful to read through the things here in this TSC charter document.
Yeah,
See
I
what
would
of
say
that applies.
yeah, like the TSC charter, the Node.js collaborator documentation, in OpenJS, there's a bunch of good stuff that's similar to this, which could give us some direction. Also in Rust, they have a lot of similar documentation that some of Rust stuff tends to be more controversial, but they've got some good stuff in there, I think. So that could be worth looking into.
Cool. Anyone else have thoughts on this? Okay. Yeah, so I will let you all know how the forming of the governance board proceeds. Hopefully we'll have something by next meeting. Let's switch over to the moderation group. So the moderation group is responsible for setting moderation policy and determining what content is and is not allowed on JSR, obviously, what action should be taken against users that violate the policy, setting guidelines for how moderation should take place, to make sure that it's enforced fairly and consistently, and then obviously handling appeals from users that have been moderated in some way. So far, our moderation policy consists of the usage policy, which is outlined here. The main thing that we've had to sort of moderate so far has been scope and package names, particularly folks that are squatting scope names, and not so much things that fall under the unacceptable use policy. And then also, I think part of this is also the quotas and limits that the registry has. I think this is also something that the moderation group will cover. Yeah, do folks have experience with moderation, ideas on what else the moderation group should deal with, or anything in that area? And feel free to pick up. We all don't fight, I promise. Even though we all look scary and like we're gonna fight.
Hi. Yeah, sorry. Given that I've been tweaking around with reserved scope recently and running into some issues while developing on JSR, I assume that moderation group would also oversee who's going to join one of the reserve scope, as you just mentioned.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I will write that down. I'll add that to the list.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? No. Okay, cool. I mean, that gives us the rest of the meeting to talk about priorities and the roadmap. I want to start off with showing you all this project view. So you can view that here. This is the list of all the issues in the JSR repository, grouped by priority as determined by mostly me. Together with a label, what kind of issue it is, what status it is, so if it's ready to work on, or if it's like still needs to be figured out what we do, if somebody's working on it, and then the size of the issue. So the reason I want to start here is because if you want to start contributing to JSR in any way, this is a great place to start. You can look at this issue, pick something high priority, maybe even not so high priority, and you can see it with the size label what we expect this is going to, the amount of effort this is going to take. So like I have 30 minutes, you can find some issue that is like an excess issue and it's going to take you hopefully no more than 30 minutes to solve. Although you're probably gonna have to set up the repository first and get going. So add some extra time for your first issue. Yeah, and then after that, yeah, just comment on the issue and say that you're working on it, and then you can send a PR and we'll review it. And hopefully land that. And Lucas just mentioning another helpful link that we should look at for the previous discussion on JS project governance. I will add this to the governance document as well to make sure that the governance group looks at this. But yeah, so on the roadmap, what do folks want to talk about? Is there issues that you'd like to work on that we should talk about, or are there issues that maybe we don't have an open issue for, or we don't have a plan for yet that we should talk about? Yeah, let's talk about it.
It's me again. Hi. Just generally speaking, I've been trying to tackle just a couple issues where I just saw fit, both on time frame and skill level. I assume primary communication would just stick on the explicit issue then, or I've talked a lot to Leo recently, as he was giving me quite a hand in getting started in Rust. Would you still be fine with going that route, or would we need anything else for that? Okay.
I think so. We have also the JSR channel on Discord.
Yes.
That I think Leo hangs around in that. So yeah, if you have like questions, feel free to ask them there. If they're like substantive on the issue itself, it's probably good to discuss them through GitHub issues, because then we have like a record, and if somebody else ends up working on it, they sort of have that context. But yeah, other than that, I think Discord's great.
All right, thank you.
So if Leo, go ahead.
So what's the idea of priority? Like, what kind of issues are you prioritizing? How did you decide the priority?
Yeah, that's a great question. We should probably document that actually. So the way that I've been doing it is mostly things that are like very, very broken. So for example, this issue here is like you go to a page and there's a heading here in the document navigation. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm on a JSR page, right? Package page. There's a heading here in the document navigation that like does not exist in the thing here. I think this heading is actually like the last heading in the file or something like that. Yeah, it's this one here. So this one's like high priority because it's like very visible, right? It's visible on every single page. And then for things that are less bad, but still somewhat bad, like for example, there's a bug where when you search for something and then you select it, you can see this like selection is kind of broken. It like has two layers of text overlaid on top of each other to like what looks like a shadow. This is still bad, but like the chance that you discover this is lower, so probably it's not as high priority. And then features are generally like never P0 because they're like additions, right? So features are generally like P1 or P2. And then things that we're not even sure whether we want to do, or there's like no good plan for how to do it, or they're very big. Those are generally P3. But yeah, if you think that any of these are in the wrong prioritization, let's fix it. So if no one has specific things to call out here, maybe we can just go through the like features. I think the bugs are generally very like self-explanatory what the issues are, but maybe we can go through the features and talk through them, pros and cons, and like see whether it has the correct priority. Let me grab things with label feature. Okay, using package screen. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I keep switching and then forgetting to switch to Google Meet. So P1, using package JSON types for JS packages. So here the problem is that you have a JavaScript file with a d.ts file next to it, and we do not, am I reading this correctly? Okay, yes, and you want JSR to pick up the types field in the package JSON to link the d.ts file to the JS file.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. I think this also ties in well with a different issue, which is, I think marked as a bug, the fact that we sometimes don't pick up sibling d.ts files to your JS files when publishing. But I feel like this is the correct priority. Abstract npm tarball making into separate crate. This is really good for testing because, so the idea behind this is that you can create the npm tarballs locally, probably through the JSR CLI, and then you can use them in your projects directly. So like you can, for example, test your code that you've written directly in Node with the compile output that JSR would give you so that you can ensure that it's actually working. We did a lot of work on getting ready for this in May, and then it sort of has been hanging. So probably, yeah, this is also the correct priority. Does anyone have like have they run into needs for this in the past?
Actually, yes. I wanted to write up a, once again, new framework where I would like to have some similar bundling to JSR. As I was having a session with Marvin in summer, somewhere in summer, where the approach that JSR chose was actually quite fitting for my use case. And this would be something I'd be fairly interested in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So were you planning to like use those tarballs within Node or just like use them in some other way?
Primarily for front-end bundles. Not bundles, but front-end files.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that ties into, yeah, this issue here, preview the transpile build in CI. I think, yeah, that's actually exactly the same issue. Better module search. Leo, do you want to talk about the module search, how it works right now?
Yeah, so currently the module search uses Arama under the hood, and we are not gonna really switch that. They've been really helpful with any outstanding issues. One thing with the module search is that it supports like filtering with some special syntax, like scope and compat, if you want to specify to a specific type of compatibility. Yeah, there is not much.
Oh, is it score?
No, there is no score filter.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Sorry, it's runtime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that filters out for the specific runtime provided. Yeah, there is not much really to be said, except that it would be nicer if there was, like, instead of just syntax-based, actual like clickable filters, like a drop-down with a filter where you can select filter out for the specific runtimes or for the scope. That will also let us add more filters in the future quite easier. And upcoming will also be the global symbol search. So being able to search for any symbol in any package from just the global symbols, or the global search.
Yeah, do you have a demo of that by chance?
No.
No, okay. Do you want to explain a bit more what that would look like?
So it's not exactly clear how we're gonna, like, how it's gonna integrate into the front end too much, but the same index will also be used for individual packages. Like the symbol search on an individual package will use the same search index, but just with a filter on them. Exactly. So basically, it would just be unfiltered of all results anywhere. But how it's going to look in the front end, that's the tricky part. So how to integrate it into the search itself is actually the main issue. That's my outstanding.
Yeah, I guess there's like a question of, is it inside of this search box or is it a separate search box?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Does anyone have ideas on that? If not, there's some prior art that we can look at. I think, yeah. Oh, actually, does the
No.
Okay, so do you know? Okay, if this doesn't have that anymore. Okay, this used to have a symbol search directly integrated in the search box as well, but it was kind of messy because you would usually just get a bunch of like I don't know, you'd be searching for UID and you get like 300 UUID functions rather than like other things that you may be looking for. So it's probably better to have it either in a separate search box or have some filter on the search box.
Yeah, maybe having a toggle for the mode. Yeah, like it could be package symbols at docs or something, like a toggle down for picking what mode the search should be operating under. Not sure if that's ideal, but that could work.
Yeah.
What else is that question asking? That issue asking for?
Tags on packages.
That's like a completely separate thing, though. Still would be good to have, but yeah.
Yeah, there's also still definitely some work to do on improving the like accuracy of the search. I mean, this example here is like you search for @SCD and it gives you a bunch of results that are not SCD. This is mostly fixed now, but it's still not perfect. I think there's still some issues with like the ranking by score, because really we want to be ranking by score, right? So the fact, for example, that like if I search for, we had an example earlier. Do you remember what it was?
STD collections, I think it was. And can you share your screen again?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. It was. I think it was like I think it was searching for collections. STD collections is like third rather than first, even though it's the only one that has 100 score and has like full runtime support. So I think there's definitely still some work to do on improving the ranking in the search.
Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone have specific things in the issues here that they maybe were thinking about working on, or that they're interested to talk about?
I think in the P1 section there was JSX support, right? So
Yes.
How would that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for those who don't know, the way that JSR publishing works is it works in like sort of two steps. The first one is we analyze your code locally during publishing and like normalize it in some way. So for example, if you're using a package JSON or Dino JSON, we like turn your import specifiers that like said, I don't know, preact to npm :preact and things like that. And the idea is that I think we do something similar for JSX. So during publishing, we would inline your JSX compiler options into the source code so that every file can be individually transpiled. So it would like essentially take this input where you have a JSX file and some compiler options and like turn it into this output code during publishing. And then the JSR backend takes that source code and like does doc analysis and stuff like that on it, but it also does the transpiling for the npm tarballs. And for that, it would then look at the JSX pragmas in the source code and emit the relevant like JS code, because it would transpile the JSX to JS for consumption in Node. The code that does this publishing, let me share that, is actually in the Dino repository. I'm gonna have to find it. I think it's in here. Is it? No. Actually, I'm not entirely sure where it is. I will. What I'll do is I will find the source code for that, and I will add a comment on this issue, explaining how it needs to be implemented, and then somebody could work on that.
Just to add attention to that, should we be moving that folder, or rather the features of that folder, to a separate crate under the JSR organization?
I think so, yeah. So this is actually something else that I mentioned in this governance thing that I talked about before, which I didn't mention, was this technical policy section. Like, yeah, JSR is obviously open source, and there's the like main registry, which is the thing that's in the JSR repo. That also contains the front end, but there's also the tool that uploads packages, and that's currently baked into the Dino CLI. And the npm JSR package currently just shells out to the Dino CLI. But really, we want to pull that out into its own binary. So there needs to be some work, probably done by either David or you, Leo, or me, that pulls out that code and sticks it into a separate crate in the JSR org. And then we can maintain it there.
Sounds good.
Any other issues?
I was thinking earlier, I don't think there's an open issue for that yet, is regarding security vulnerabilities in packages and how to report packages themselves, etc. And stuff along the lines of that. NPM makes it quite friendly, let's say, by just having a button on a package and being able to report it.
Yeah, let me pull up how that looks on NPM. Okay, so we're going to do like the JSR package. Yeah, and there's this report malware button. Yeah, this is probably something we should link to as well. I think we have a section on how to report this in the docs.
Yeah, it's probably just sending an email.
Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, there's a section for reporting violations. You can send us an email. Yeah, maybe we can pull that out into a button on the repo page.
Yeah, I feel like everything we currently do via email, like increasing scope limits, etc., shouldn't be done via email, but rather via some form on the website that uploads, I don't know, entries to the database, and they're visible on the dashboard for the admins on the page, not having to deal with emails.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems very useful. So for the way that would look is like if you go to your account and go to settings. Yeah. You could like press this request user button, you get like a dialog or something where you can submit a request rather than having to send an email.
Yeah, and that would then show up in the admin panel or moderation panel, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Anything else? I'm going to ask one more time. We can stop the meeting early today. But I very much encourage all of you to speak up. I very much promise we don't fight.
He promises, I don't.
Okay, cool. We will have the next meeting in 2 weeks, I think. What I'll do for next time is I'll actually open an issue. I know I said I would do this last time. I'm going to actually open an issue on the JSR repo where you can submit things for the agenda for next time to talk about. Yeah, and then we can all prepare for those. Cool. Okay. I'll see you all around, folks.
See ya.